All right, guys, welcome back to the Seriously Serious Show. We have George Moss with us, making us giggle in the background. Tim was not necessarily, he told him to be quiet, and George was like, are you kidding? The Spirit has my tongue on fire, and I'm going to speak with wisdom. And so, welcome, George Moss, with the Spirit tongue fire wisdom.
I don't think I got any of that, but I appreciate the warm welcome.
Right, exactly. The vote of confidence, that's what it is. Well, speaking of Acquire the Fire, or just fire in general, now you spent the weekend there, is that right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It was cool. I got a chance to go to Acquire the Fire with my homies, We Are Leo. It's one of those things, it's still kind of surreal to me because as a kid, I used to always want to go to those events, and I never really had enough money, or my youth group never went. But I always dreamed about going to Acquire the Fire. So to be able to get out there and to go play is incredible. And also, it's just really cool to be a part of an event like that where it's not just another concert. It's like it's an entire event where it goes on all week long, and people are impacted, and they never forget that weekend where they made a commitment to follow Jesus for the first time, or recommit their lives for the first time. So it was cool to be able to rock out with those guys this past weekend, and spend some time with the family over there. So shout out to We Are Leo. Shout out to all the people at Acquire the Fire. Sorry that I wasn't doing my own music. I just was out there with We Are Leo, but I will be on some of the Acquire the Fire dates doing my own stuff coming up next fall. So I think it's like Chicago and Massachusetts or something like that. So, but that was fun. That was a whole lot of fun.
Well, we're definitely going to have to look out for that schedule, and we're going to have to promote that. I know for me, Acquire the Fire was one of the first experiences I had as a Christian, hanging out with other adolescents, teenagers, young adults at that time. And so that was hugely inspiring to me. So that's cool that you get to be a part of that. I'm sure that was like part of your bucket list. You know, it's like, man, I just want to be a part of that. So that's awesome you got to achieve that. Well, tell us a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's just one of those things, like, it's one of those things where it's like, it was part of my bucket list, and it's like, you really want to get there, and you start to like try to, you know, want to do one of these things in your career, and you finally get there, and you're like, you know what? It's not as big of a deal as I thought it was. Like, what I always learn is no matter how many cool opportunities I get, is nothing compared to just knowing Jesus and being able to serve him daily. Like, whether you're on Acquire the Fire or yesterday when I was just at a youth group, and that's what I was going to tell you guys about today. Like, I was, I've been doing this Indiegogo campaign. Sorry, my seat like goes down every time I like.
I feel the same way too. I need a booster seat.
So yeah, I've been doing this Indiegogo campaign for the past few days, or maybe few weeks, and I've been really trying to get as much support as possible for it, and I've been going out and doing different things. And I went to do this concert last night. In my mind, I went there to go to promote the Indiegogo campaign, and it was funny because the speaker, he was from this organization called Claim Your Campus, and he was speaking, and he was talking about these times where you have your plan and you think you know what you're going to do, and then God kind of just totally changes things up. And that's exactly what happened to me yesterday. And because earlier that day I was in church, and the pastor was preaching about something that like this passage that I've been pretty familiar with, and it's from Mark 5, where Jesus went over to the other side. There's a place called the Decapolis where he went over to see this, or he went over there to do ministry, to preach, or to do something, and he was met by this demon-possessed guy. And this demon-possessed guy was just out in the into a Jewish person going over to the Decapolis anyway. It was just like a no-no. Like, it was unclean people, and to go over there, it would make you unclean. So Jesus and his disciples in particular, were probably like freaked out that they had to go over there. And not only did they go over there, they were met. They stopped at, like, when they got out, they were at a cemetery, which is another thing that is unclean and they weren't supposed to be at. And then they were met by this demon-possessed man that was in the cemetery, which is even more freaky. So this guy, he was in the cemetery, and they were saying that this is the guy that was like screaming out in all hours of the night, roaming through the cemetery and cutting himself all through the night, all the time. In this area. And Jesus went over there to minister to this guy, and it just made me think about how sometimes I get this opportunity to go out and even to be here on Remedy Live, and I know there's so many people that are watching this show, and so many people that we encounter every single day that are cutting themselves and are really either possessed or oppressed by spiritual things that we don't even know. And it was amazing to see how God called that out of him, and how sometimes we're going to be called in our lives to go to places and do things that we're not comfortable with doing, but because we're called to go out and to call unclean spirits out of people, out of situations, out of areas, so that way God can have his full reign. And I mean, I had to talk about this thing. Like I planned on going there to do my regular concert, make people party, jump up and down, and be silly. And it's one of those things where I had a plan to have fun and do this, but God was like, somebody needs to hear that. And I kind of felt the same way about this show today. It's like, it's one thing. I've got so many things I would want to promote. I want to, tell people about my Indiegogo campaign or tell people about what's going on tomorrow. But in actuality, I know that there's so many people that are not only just cutting themselves, but you can do harm to yourself in so many other ways by just cutting, but just self-harm by sin, and that's in our life. And God is calling that out of us. And if you're watching today and you know that you are, on one hand, watching Remedy Live, and on one hand go to the church or go to youth group and go to things like Acquire the Fire and you worship God, but at the same time you are inflicting harm on yourself through sin. God is calling that out of us and calling that out of you. And that was one of those messages that I got on a whim yesterday. It wasn't a plan of mine, but I figured I would share that with you guys here on Remedy Live today.
And I think that does speak so much to the people that are watching, because oftentimes we hear about the self-punishment. It's almost like that we don't even realize our own value. And so punishing ourselves by cutting or harming or doing any of those things, that just makes sense in the moment. But yet you're telling us that, God says we are made for so much more than that. And we have so much freedom in Christ. So what a powerful message, for sure. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. But so yeah, that was one of those things. But at any rate, I still do want to tell people that they can still come and hang out with me tomorrow night. Of course,
yes,
I hang out with you guys on Monday. And tomorrow night, I'm going to have a special guest on there, Soul Glow Activator from Family Force 5, the former lead singer of Family Force 5. It's going to be on the show with me. So I'm super excited about that, because last year, before he actually came off the road, we were in the studio down in Atlanta and working on some of the songs for my next album. And he's going to be on the show tomorrow to kind of talk about what we're going to be doing on the next album, what he's been up to as far as production-wise since he's come off the road with Family Force 5, and going to be maybe giving away some free stuff too. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice. Now tell me, is that his birth name, or is that just a nickname that came along?
Yeah.
That's pretty fantastic.
Soul Glow Activator. That's his birth name. He invented Soul Glow Activator. So if you want a Jerry curl, we'll probably give away some Jerry curl juice. It's funny because kids don't even know what Jerry curls are.
Oh my goodness. I know. No. Seriously, man, you're preaching wisdom and bringing it back old school. Nice. I like it.
Solomon, actually. Solomon's is the real name. It's not Soul Glow.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. You never know in today's age what's real. People are just changing it. You can go to the courthouse and change your name to whatever. So good for him. Power to him.
If I was to change my name to anything, it would be Soul Glow Activated. That would be.
That's right. I mean, that's like a superhero name, but like superhero for Jesus. So good for him.
we should give him a cape tomorrow. That's what we're gonna give him. I'm gonna give him a cape tomorrow.
Nice. You do that, and you can ship some down to us here at Remedy, because I would love to have some of that as well. Well, thanks so much again for joining us. Again, guys, you can check out George Moss on his site, Twitter. Where's your stuff where they can find you at, George?
GeorgeMossMusic.com has all the information right there, or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just at George Moss. You'll find me.
That's
but
nice, yeah.
I'll see you guys next week. I'm here every week, so we'll be hanging out.
And if you like his music, he is now at that place where he is wanting you to come and provide anything that you have, $1, $2. Please support him, because his music is touching lives in ways beyond even yours. As you know, it's been a blessing to you. Bless others with that as well. Where can they go to support you, George?
Oh, the campaign is on Indiegogo.com. So Indiegogo.com, you go on there, search George Moss. You'll find my campaign. Or if you want, just shoot me a text message and I'll send you the link myself.
Ooh.
It's 616-710-1996. hit me up and I'll text it to you. Don't call me, just text me.
Nice. Personal invitation does not get any better than that. All right, thanks, George, for joining us again. As for you guys at home, stay tuned. We still got some really crazy stories that we're going to talk about. Right now, Everyday Sunday.